Hi everyone, my name is Jay and I'm a software engineer. I went to Flatiron School from December 2019 to May 2020, and I wanted to do a reflection on was it worth it and what I wish I would have known. Was software engineering bootcamp worth it? The short answer is yes. Yes, because I learned a highly sought after skill, and the salary is pretty high when starting out, high compared to other jobs with no experience. So when I looked at Flatiron School's survey from 2020, they stated that the starting salary was $74,000. And that's amazing for not having any professional coding experience. Here are the things I wish I would have known before I started bootcamp. Number one, the jobs are not easy to get. It's a very competitive market, and interviewing with one company, you can have from 3 to 6 interviews, and they will involve having soft skill interviews as well as technical skill interviews. And each company is going to be different in what they're looking for, so it's kind of hard to study for certain things unless you know for sure that the interview has data structures and algorithms. Then there's a bunch of most asked questions on lead code, let's say, and then you can kind of prepare yourself a little bit better than that for that, but for the most part, really depends on the company. Number two is if your bootcamp offers you job searching assistance, you should definitely use them as a resource, but do not think that they are going to be your sole resource. You are going to have to be very proactive in finding your next job. For one, I found my job through somebody that I knew, somebody that I had worked with kind of in passing. I didn't even really work with them that much, but I had just a few interactions with them at a previous company, and then I reached out to them on LinkedIn, and I think it was a much easier way and a much easier transition than just kind of cold emailing a company or a specific person. So I think you would have more success reaching out to somebody you have a connection with than not. Most companies that I did interviews for, they had a data structures and algorithms interview in one of their interview processes. And I did have to study a lot for that, but at the same time, it was really hard for me. I don't think my brain was really wired in that way. I'm a front-end engineer, so a lot of the things that I do on my day-to-day job is very visual, and it's data structures and algorithms is just a totally different animal. And I didn't do well on those interviews, even though I'd studied really, really hard. So if you are interviewing, if you're interviewing in general, it's good to kind of have a base knowledge and try to solve, let's say 10 to 20, and try and do it on your own and get comfortable with it, because you are going to come across interviews that have those, that kind of setup. But, and a lot of big tech companies, the FANGs of the world, have those kind of interviews. So if data structures and algorithms is something that you are good at or you want to get really good at, then you should really focus and study on that. So as an example, I had a friend who was interviewing for one of the FANGs, and he spent probably 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to understand all of the data structures and algorithms and the different problems from easy, medium to hard. And I think if you're unable to spend that kind of time, then I don't think you should do it. But if you're that dedicated and you're really good at it, I think you should totally go for it. The next one is that you should be prepared mentally and financially that the job search can take you from anywhere from 3 months to a year to find a job. And in boot camp, they used to say that, oh, your first job is gonna be the hardest to get. But in reality, like every job is kind of the hardest to get because of the torturous interviews per company and the types of interviews that you have. If it's algorithms or systems design or just, there's an array of different kind of interview structures. So for me, interviewing is the worst. And the job is easier than the interview. And I have experienced this at least twice now because I'm on my second job, and my job is much easier than the interviews that I've had to do before. And lastly, you will get rejected a lot. And so, as an example, I probably sent out applications, probably 100 applications. Probably interviewed for 25 to 30 of those companies, and there were multiple rounds per company. And obviously I got rejected by like 99% of them. But all you need is one yes, and that one yes is really gonna be life-changing. If this is your first job, even if it's gonna be, your second job or your third job, it's gonna be life-changing because hopefully you'll be at a company that values you, that you can use your skill sets, and that you can feel like, boot camp was worth it. So there's also a caveat that I definitely want to leave off, because even though I say boot camp was worth it, you also have to consider the economy and the state of the economy because of the layoffs now. And I guess it had been going on for a few years because I got laid off in 2022. Yeah. So, layoffs are still happening. So I think that if you're unable to do the grind of the interview, like, 5 to 7 days a week, then it might not be the best thing for you to do right now. It's still good for you to learn and have the skill set, but maybe right now is not the right time to break into tech. Maybe right now you learn and you get really good at something, at a specific program or something, and then you network. And then once you feel really comfortable technically, and maybe you have studied some data structures and algorithms and you kind of know what to expect during the interview process, then you can really full on and go into the job search. And also, I don't think you need to go to boot camp to get an engineering job. However, I personally think that the boot camp gave me structure, and also I learned well with others and when I went in person at the time, and it really gave me that immediate feedback that I think was really helpful for me. So it's really going to depend on you and what your threshold is in terms of your emotional and financial stability. But I think that if you're going for it, you have to consider all of these things. But good luck to you. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I'd love to help guide anybody who's kind of going through this process. And if you want me to make another video, leave me with your questions of what you want me to talk about. Thank you.